Hello, hello. Welcome to Zeens and Roger. Welcome. I'm going to do a tutorial today for a big old granny square. I want you to know how to make it. And I'm going to show you how. I've just been distracted actually. There's a teeny tiny little spider on the table. I'm going to try and make sure that he's kept safe while I do some crochet. He knows I'm talking about him because he's just frozen. Okay, distracted already. Okay. Right, so 4mm hook, double knit yarn. You'll get yourself some granny squares that are about yay big, whatever that is. 8 inches? Or am I grossly underestimating what 8 inches actually is? Maybe it's 9. About the height of a Barbie doll. Right, so I mean these are unblocked, but that is like the approximate size I would suggest without having measured them or blocked them first. And they've got a circle centre of granny clusters, and then they become square as we work our way out. I'm going to show you how to make one today because they are my current favourite, and I've used them in a... Oh, where are you? I don't know where he's gone now. He was over there somewhere. Sorry, Mr. Spider, I hope I haven't disturbed you. This is for a blanket that I made recently, and I loved it so much. I'm making it again in different colours this time. So I have a blanket for my bedroom and a blanket for my living room as well. Gosh, there's my hair stuck in one already. So what you need is lots of colourful double knit yarn. This is, I think, a wool nylon combo or something. I can't remember exactly. To start, we work a circle. Get your yarn, nice little slip knot, and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 chains. Join with a slip stitch, and then you've got yourself a nice little circle. I don't use a magic ring for this pattern because I don't want that hole to close. I want it to be decorative, part of the granny design. I want a little hole in the centre because I think it looks nice. The very centre, don't know if you can see, but the very centre is like little petals, and I use those in a smaller granny square pattern as well that I combine with these large ones, and I'm going to start them the same way, and I do that by working a DC into the centre, which is a UK double knit, no, the UK double crochet, and then into that I pop my hook into the left leg, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, go into the centre of the circle and yarn over to pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and then I've got myself a little petal. Chain 2. I'm pretty sure that's how I did it the first time round, but sometimes I just make stuff up. Yeah, for all the other ones, hang on, before I get ahead of myself. For all the other ones, yarn over, insert your hook into the centre of the circle, yarn over and pull through. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, go back into the centre of the circle, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 3. Chain 2. Let's see if I can zoom in. I'm a bit worried about when I zoom in it going blurry. Hopefully it won't. Yarn over, insert the hook into the circle, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, lots of yarning over here, go back into the circle, yarn over again, you've got 4 loops on your hook I think, yeah, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 3, chain 2. And then you're creating all these lovely petals, and you want 8 of them in the centre. Can you hear my washing machine? 3rd wash today, but the sun is shining and I need to clean those towels. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. Chain 2, and then you've got 8 petals. Whoops. In between the first and the second petal, insert your hook, and you're going to slip stitch to join. And then you can snip your yarn and pull it through. So you have round 1 that looks something like this. Perfect. Ta-da! Round 2. I'm not really thinking much about my colours here. I'm just grabbing a new one and then shoving it in. I'm not really thinking about it, trying not to be precious about it, because ultimately, my goodness, I would probably overthink it for days if I was being too careful, and I haven't got time to do that. So I just grab one and see what happens. I'm going to change colour in a way that I think looks the best for this pattern, and that is called, I think it's called like a standing treble, so standing US double, in that I get my yarn and then I wrap it around my hook 3 times like that, and I hold it down with my thumb and forefinger. I'm going to put my hook in any chain space of the first round, yarn over and pull through. Then I'm going to use those wraparounds to actually become my stitch, in that I pull through 2 loops and pull through another 2 loops, and then work on the next stitch before kind of letting go, really. Done. And there you have like a, what did I call it, a standing start, I think, and a normal stitch there that I hope is in focus. It looks blurry from where I am. A granny cluster traditionally is 3 US doubles, which are UK trebles. And with that standing start and 2 normal stitches, you've got your first granny cluster. Chain 1 and work clusters into all the chain spaces around, with the chain 1 in between. I do have another method for working these granny squares when you aren't changing colour for each round, because it does have an impact. Because basically, if you are using the same colour on round 1 and round 2, you can't use that standing start, because you don't have a new yarn to wrap around your hook. You have the existing yarn that's already attached to the work, and it makes things different. So I can show you how to do that after I've done this one, but it's just the way you start that's different. For the most part, this is literally just granny clusters from now on. I'm going to join, that's a chain 1 there, so I've done my cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster all the way around, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that standing start, and then I can snip that yarn. There. So that's round 2 of my large granny square done. Grab another colour. Don't think too much, just grab it and go. Same method to join. 1, 2, 3. And this is round 3. And round 3, I'm going to do 4 stitches in each chain space. I'm going to chain 1 in between. 4 stitches in each chain space. I didn't experiment too much. I did think about taking out the chain 1 between these clusters in this round, and see whether or not it made a difference, whether it was needed. I've decided to keep it in because the final square looks absolutely fine and it isn't shouting that it's weird looking. Okay, so when you've gone all the way around, again, you joined that first stitch, which happens to be that wrap around standing start. Snip your yarn and fasten off. See, I think it would be too like that if I took away the chain 1s between each of those clusters, which is why I've kept them in. Does that make sense? Hope so. Okay, what colour should we go for next? Blue. Let's go for a blue. Okay. Same join again. And then this time we're doing a little bit of an increase because we're going to smush in extra clusters. These ones do not have a chain in between, so no chain 1 after you've made a cluster. Instead, where you've got 4 stitches in each cluster, force your hook in between, so you've got 2 on each side, and add an additional cluster in there. Now you might wonder why I didn't add a chain 1 between those, and the answer is there were too many chains and it was too wibbly wobbly. Now I'm thinking I could have added the chain there, not in between the clusters. I might play around with that, I don't know, but for now let's just stick to what we've got. That might actually be a good idea. So if you see me make any chains between these clusters on this round, it's an error, ignore me. It's just force of habit sometimes. In between the 4, a cluster does go. And you do it all the way around. So I'll meet you back at the beginning. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 clusters all around the outside. So that's double what it was here. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch. And the next round is the same in that it's 16 clusters around and no chain spaces between them either. So it does sort of start to, it would curve in a little bit more on itself, but ultimately it flattens out at the end. Gosh, I've got two. Let's go for this one. So it's going to be the same again with a round of clusters. And then after that, things get a little bit more interesting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds now. So round 6 is where we're going to start turning it into a square rather than a round. Join with a slip stitch. Okay, so here we have a granny round, granny circle. Let's make it a granny square. And we do that by adding some little corners. Wrap your yarn around your hook 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Same principle, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, but do it one more time because this is going to stand in for a double, I call a double treble, but I think in US terms it's a treble, right? And you do that here 3 times, and this is going to be one of your corners, okay? For the next 3 spaces between the clusters, you're just going to do a standard cluster of DC stitches, which are UK trebles. So these are standard. And then we're going to work the first full corner. So this is going to be the side of a square. This is going to be the first corner, but we've only worked half of it. In this next space, we're going to work a full corner. So yarn around hook twice to do a US treble, which to my UK chums is a double treble. A double treble. Yarn over twice. They're actually really good fun stitches to work. Chain 2, that's a corner. Yarn over twice. First full corner is made. 3, I was going to call them boring clusters then, but there's nothing boring about a cluster. Just, you know, the regular ones. Okay, so that's the second straight side made, and we're going to do our second full corner. So it's a yarn over twice. Chain 2, yarn over twice. Et voila. See it taking shape? Very exciting. And then once it becomes a square, well, I'm pretty sure you're good to go. You know the rest, but just in case you don't, let's carry on. One, two, three. Oops, I've got myself a knot. Been a bit overzealous. Let's get some more of this purple. I can't remember the... I think this is King Cole Majestic, if you want to know. Well, I know it is. They're very summery colours for me, actually. But I want them to be a contrast to all the muted tones of my living room, which is quite sort of sombre and brown and wooden. So, I mean, that I've not sold it very well. It's a lovely living room, don't get me wrong, but I want something to jazz it up a bit. Right, so I'm on the final corner, which is also the first corner. Don't worry, this will block out. If it looks like it's poking up a bit, it will flatten out nicely. So for the last corner, which is also the first corner, yarn round hook, do one more, this would be a treble cluster instead of a DC cluster if you're using American terms. Oops, instantly did a normal one. Okay, now what I do to join is I can either chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to the top of the first one, or if you fancy it, yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over and pull through, so you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 so that you finish in a corner, just because you can, and it looks neat. There you go. How's that? So it's not 100% square, it's 90% square right now, but you needed the height of those corner stitches to just get the angle a bit more acute, I suppose. And then we would go to another colour. I'll have to go back to one of the other ones because I don't have any more. That's my washing machine. Now, almost immediately, force of habit has made me turn my square to this corner, which is the opposite of where I've just joined. I make a habit of this because if I join constantly in one corner, and it's always that same corner, my granny square is likely to do a bit of a twist, and the corners, as you look at a giant granny square, they kind of start to kind of go like that and like that around rather than nice and straight. Sure, you can combat that by turning each round, but sometimes I want a granny square to all be the right side, just because I prefer the look of the stitches on this side than I do on that side. And yet it would be alternate, wouldn't it? It'd be right, wrong. But still, I don't like the look of the backside of a granny. A granny's backside, isn't it? Sometimes not very attractive. Okay. We're working all with this being the right side. So to avoid that twist, I'm going to join my new yarn in the opposite corner. Same method as before. And then each granny round is the same, and you make it as big as you want it. You could make yourself a lap blanket with this. You could keep going and going and going. But mine is 13 rounds for this large granny square that I'm doing so that I can make my blanket. 13 rounds. So you just go all the way around, and this time it's all standard stitches. We're not going to do anything fancy in the corners. It's just going to be a normal DC. Yes, that is a UK treble, my friends, my folks, I was going to say, my UK folks. See, chain 2 for a corner. Right, okay, I'm just going to finish off this round and then I'll meet you back at the beginning. I've worked all the way around for this round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. And then I'm going to, like, if you'd prefer to, just chain 2 and join to the top of the slip stitch. That's absolutely fine. The other way is called a half double join. And it just means that you finish in the very centre of a corner rather than off centre. Whether it makes a difference that's noticeable by the naked eye, I don't know. I've never tried to experiment with it, but whatever floats your boat. The other way is quite good fun, and also it's good if you're changing colour and if you are turning each round, because you just change colour. Do you want me to show you quickly? Just, I mean, this is literally a tangent, okay? It's not part of the pattern, but I'm going to show you. If I were to change colour using the half double method, I would but rather than yarning over and pulling through with this colour, I'd bring in the new colour now, and then I can start in the corner there. But like I say, I would probably only do that if I were to turn it, because then it's a really nice central start. But this is a digression that I didn't intend to do. I was just, you know, giving you a little secret tip on changing colour for when you're making grannies. Feel free to shout at me to tell me it was distracting. Or don't. That's me saying don't. I noticed it was a distraction. Don't have a go. Okay. So you would just do the same as that round for any other subsequent rounds. And then when you're finished, it is a good idea. Oh, sorry, I kicked the camera. It is a good idea just to either wash and block your squares or pin them out and give them a light spritz with water and leave them to dry, just so that they're the tidiest, neatest looking squares you've ever made. But that essentially is how you make a large granny square. However, I'm going to just show you where I don't change colour every round, because it will change a couple of the techniques used to make life easier for you if you didn't want to change colour every round. Let's go there, shall we? For the bloody blanket, for the granny blanket I'm making at the moment, I have decided not to change colour every round, purely out of laziness really, because I didn't want to sew in quite so many ends. And also I'm kind of liking a block colour kind of design as well. Oh, somebody's home. Yeah, so I'm just going to show you a different method for, sorry about the fluff, how I change colour and how I fasten off rounds and start rounds and things, because it is tweaked slightly. I might just, I'm starting this the same way, so I'm not explaining how I'm doing it here because you've already seen me do it once. But when I've got 8 petals, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I've got 8 petals here, and I've chained 2, joined the slip stitch, just like we did for the other one. But I'm not going to fasten off here, so what do? Well, I do my least favourite way of how I start a round, because it's in this situation it is the better way of doing it, despite me not enjoying the twiddly nature of it. But I pull up a loop on my hook, which is about the same height as a DC, finger on the top so it doesn't grow any further, and then I kind of go underneath it, yarn over, go underneath it, yarn over, and pull through the loops that I've created. It's still, yeah, it's never going to be my favourite way, and actually that looks kind of clunky right now. And actually, I think it has grown somewhat in height in the way if I'm not doing it on camera, I'm quicker and therefore it doesn't grow. Right. Cluster made. Okay. So that's how I start that round. Chain 1. And then I would join to the first, that weird wibbly, I can't remember what it's called. No turning chain start? I can't remember. Anyway, ordinarily I don't like it, and I do actually have a video where I've done alternatives to chaining 3, and I poo-poo it in that video. So now I feel like a hypocrite for using it in this pattern. But yeah, I tried the others, and in this circumstance, it's begrudgingly, I admit, it's the best way. And this is the top of the wibbly wobbly twisty turdy start that I can't remember the name of. So it kind of disguises itself quite well, doesn't it? And in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to notice it when you've got your finished product all done. Yeah. And then I think for the next round, one, two, three, I work 3 rounds where I don't change colour. So for this one though, just to make life worse, I'm not one to make life easy sometimes, although I love cutting corners, don't get me wrong, but I want my crochet to look the best it can be. And I could start it here, but I don't know if you know what I mean when I say the join is to the left of this chain space. Thus, it doesn't allow me to work a cluster tidily into it, because it would be all the action on the wrong side of the join. So what I did was slip stitch into the top of the next DC, that's a UK treble, and again into the last one of that cluster and into the chain space, and that allows me to work my first cluster from there, and you don't notice those slip stitches in the final thing. And I don't know if that's a bit of a pain in the bum for people, whether or not is it worth the rigmarole? I mean, ultimately I've decided it is because that's what I did. Is this the one where I do 4? Yeah. And then I work 4 stitches into that chain space. Chain 1. And go all the way around. And then you join into the first twiddly turny one. And this is where, get myself untangled. This is where I actually joined here. And you can't tell really, can you, that I've slip stitched across there to start here. And it will just mean that the cluster I make in that one is not competing with a knot at the start of it, which I hope makes sense. So it is different to the one which I threw on the ground in terms of how joins and how joins are made and how you start each round. But also what I've done is introduced you to lots of different ways of how you can make different joins and different starts, and I hope that's useful. And the aim is to sort of give you more ammunition for your crochet library. Thank you, brain. So you can pick the best ones for yourself in your making and stuff like that. So hope that makes sense. But ultimately, yeah, when you start a new colour, I would do the standing start with the wraparounds. If it's a new colour, ooh, camera shake again, sorry. And if it's an existing colour, I do that pull up thing with the whole thing where you go like that. Ugh. Still hate it, but I do it because I want my crochet to look the best it can be. Right, I hope that has been helpful. I'm going to go away now and put the last load of laundry on the line because it's sunny outside. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think. Let me know how many you're going to make. Are you going to make a blanket out of these, or are you just going to make one giant blanket? What are you going to do? Oh, and also, don't forget that you can pair it with a smaller square that I've made, and make the blanket that I'm making with these squares that I put together. More on that in a blog post at some other point in the year. Just so you know, it is now May the something, but I don't know when this will be published. It might not be published until I've actually finished the blanket several weeks down the line. Anyway, I'm not going to waffle anymore. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you again soon. Cheerio. Bye.